Let's get started. Firstly, I want to say a massive thank you to Jill, who is also my mum, for being here to do this talk. So she's going to be talking a little bit about a few different topics, which is great, and I didn't realise, because actually it's going to show that grooming just doesn't happen to females, it happens to males as well. So Mum, do you want to do a bit of an introduction, and I'll mute me?
Yes, my name is Jill Edwards. I've been connected with the Leicestershire Police for the last 22 years, 10 years as a police officer and 12 years as a safeguarding PCSO. I'm currently based at Keyham Lane on the domestic violence team, but I've come today to talk about child sexual exploitation. And in particular, I'm going to tell you the Kaylee love story. Now, Kaylee Haywood was a 15-year-old girl that lived in Measham with her parents and with her brothers and sisters. She got lots of friends, and she was just like every other 15-year-old girl. But then, on the Saturday, the 31st of October 2015, she received a message on Facebook from someone she didn't know. And as a result of that message, 15 days later, she was brutally murdered. Now, I'm going to give you all the information on the last 15 days of Kaylee's life. But what I want you to do first, there's a short video of the last 15 days of Kaylee, and I'd like you to watch it. And some people might be a little bit distressed by it. If so, you can leave the group and then watch it another time, or just go away for 5 minutes and come back. But once you've seen it, I'll fill you in with all of the information afterwards. So Victoria, if you'd like to play it.
I'll never forget the first time we met. We clicked right away.
Hi, love.
Hiya, Mum. I could talk to him for hours. It was as if we were old friends. Am I alright to stay at Katie's tomorrow?
Yeah, all right.
Mum and Dad wouldn't understand. They don't know that he's different. He wants to meet for a few drinks. He treats me like an adult. I think he might be the one. I really do. Mum and Dad wouldn't understand though. They don't know that he's different. He wants me to meet his friends, so he must be serious about it.
Get off me! Go away! Help me! Help! Help me!
here forever. I really think we love each other. But Mum and Dad wouldn't understand. They don't know that he's different.
Saturday, the 31st of October 2015, Kaylee received one message on Facebook from someone she didn't know, but she liked the attention, and so they exchanged messages backwards and forwards. And after 90 short minutes, Kaylee gave the man we now know to be Luke Harlow a mobile phone number. And once she'd given him her mobile phone number, over the next 12 days, they exchanged 2,635 messages. This is over 200 messages a day, every day, saying things like, I want you to be my girl, and I'm falling in love with you, and don't listen to your friends, don't tell them about this, because this is just between me and you. I understand you, and I'm falling in love with you. Well, Kaylee really enjoyed this attention and getting these messages. On the following Friday, Luke Harlow invited her to his house. So Kaylee said to her mum, is it okay if I stay at Katie's house? And her mum says, no problem at all. As long as you're with Katie, you'll be safe. And mum even said, I'll take you, I'll drop you off. So mum took Kaylee in the car and dropped her off at the leisure centre in Ibstock. But when mum's car drove away, it wasn't Katie that was there waiting for Kaylee, it was Luke Harlow. He then took Kaylee back to his dark, disgusting, dingy flat with a mattress on the floor. And then he started to ply Kaylee with alcohol and sexually abuse her. But Kaylee thought, this is how someone treats you if they love you. Her parents wouldn't let her have alcohol, so maybe they didn't love her as much as Luke Harlow did. So she actually asked her mother if she could stay a second night. And her mum says, yes, of course you can. As long as you're with Katie, everything's fine. So Kaylee stopped the second night, again being abused by Luke Harlow. And then in the early hours of Sunday morning, Stephen Beedman came into Luke Harlow's flat and he raped Kaylee. And this she didn't want. So she fled from the house. But it was 3 a.m. on Sunday morning. So 3 a.m, there's no street lights, there's no garages, there's no shops open, there's nobody walking the dog or cleaning the windows that she could ask for help. So she ran and she fled into the woods thinking she was going to be safe. But of course she wasn't safe, because Stephen Beedman followed her into the woods, and once he was there, he raped her and then he brutally murdered her. He then got up and walked away, leaving her in the woods, and went back to his flat and continued drinking. At 7:30 the following morning, Sunday morning, a motorist was driving by and he spotted a mobile phone on the ground, and he picked the mobile phone up and he pressed the redial button, and Katie answered the phone saying, "Is that you, Kaylee?" And the man said, "No, I don't know who Kaylee is. I've just found this phone on the floor." So Katie then phoned Kaylee's mum and dad and said, "Where's Kaylee?" And they said, "Well, she's with you. She's been with you all weekend." And Katie said, no, I haven't seen her. I don't know where she is, and I don't know who she's with. So Kaylee's mum and dad then phoned the police. And then there was a massive search. Everyone was looking for Kaylee. There was tracker dogs, there was helicopters, there was people from visiting forces, there were family members, there were people from the local schools. Everybody was looking for Kaylee, but we couldn't find her. So the police then went back to the mobile phone, and when they examined closely the mobile phone, they discovered the 2,635 messages between Kaylee and Luke Harlow. And as a result of that, on Sunday afternoon, Luke Harlow was arrested. And as a result of what he told the police, Stephen Beedman was also arrested. They were both then continually interviewed until the following Wednesday, when Stephen Beedman finally told the police that he had murdered Kaylee and where they could find her body. So the police then went and discovered Kaylee's body, and she was then taken to the morgue at the Leicester Royal Infirmary. But when Kaylee's mum and dad went to visit her, they weren't allowed to view her face because Stephen Beedman had broken every bone in Kaylee's face. So the only thing Kaylee's mum and dad could see or touch was a hand. And that was their lasting memories of their 15-year-old daughter. You have to ask yourself, what would have happened if the motorist hadn't found that mobile phone? Because nobody knew where Kaylee was. Nobody. Her friends didn't know, because Luke Harlow had done a very good job of grooming her and isolating her from her friends and from her parents, saying they wouldn't understand. So nobody knew where she was. So it was amazing that the gentleman found the phone and did what he did. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about Luke Harlow and Stephen Beedman. Luke Harlow was very much a loner. He was 29. He'd got no friends and found it very difficult to make friends. He had been to university, but he dropped out. And now he was like a full-time groomer. And when his laptop was seized, he'd got over 250 other females lined up, ready to start grooming. And when he was in court, he actually admitted to grooming 2 other girls at the same time as Kaylee. So what he was wanting was the first one to say out of the 3 that they would go to his address so he could have sex. Stephen Beedman, he was a landscape gardener. He was very much have too much to drink, have a bit of a brawl, but not too much other than that. And the amazing thing, from both of these 2 people, neither of them had ever been in contact with the police at all, not even for a driving offence or motoring offence, anything like that. None of them had been spoken to by the police in the past. Luke Harlow was given a 12-month sentence, 12-year sentence for his part of false imprisonment, grooming and sexual activity. Unfortunately, they were unable to prove that rape was involved. If it had have been, the sentence may have gone up to 14, 16 years. So 12 years was the maximum he could be given for the offences he was charged with. Stephen Beedman, he was charged with rape, murder and false imprisonment. And he was given life, and he has to serve 35 years before he can apply for parole. Now, both of these two, Luke Harlow and Stephen Beedman, will both be put on the sex offenders register for possibly the rest of their lives. When they're released, they will be possibly given new identities and relocated out of the Leicestershire area. And that's something that everybody doesn't always agree with, but this is how the law stands, and that's what happens. The next bit of information I want to give you is about a young man, because I want to make it clear, as Victoria said at the beginning, this is not just something that happens to girls. We tend to stereotype a little bit, and we think that it's men wanting sex from girls. But in some cases, it's not like that. This one I want to tell you about is a young man, 14-year-old, called Brett Bednar. He was addicted to being on his PlayStation and playing games. He lived with his mum and dad, and he had triplet brothers and sisters, and he was a high achieving young man at school. He got lots of friends. He was in all the sports teams. Brett was very much liked by everybody, and he thoroughly enjoyed playing the games with his friends. But then one day, Lewis Daines contacted him. And once he got in touch with Brett, he then started the grooming process. And he then groomed him for the next year. This can happen many different ways. With Kaylee Haywood, it was 15 days from the first message to the day that she was killed. With Brett Bednar, it was 1 year, 12 months. So what the groomer did, Lewis Daines, he filled his head with information like, I'm a millionaire, I live in New York, I can make you rich the same as me. You don't want to mess around with those lads that you're playing with at the minute. They've got no ambition or drive. But you, Brett, I can make wonderful things happen for you. So very slowly over the next 12 months, all of Brett's friends were dropped by the wayside. And once that had happened, Lewis Daines then started on Brett's mother. And he slowly, from her speaking to him on the PlayStation, he then wouldn't speak to her at all and completely isolated Brett from his mother. After 12 months, Lewis Daines sent a taxi, to pick Brett up. And he had him delivered to his home address, which obviously wasn't in New York, it was in England. And once he was in the address, within no time at all, Lewis Daines had brutally murdered him. He then made a very chilling 999 call, which told the operator that there'd been an incident between myself and another person, and there's only one of us that's come out alive. That was the end of Brett Bednar from this year of grooming from Lewis Daines. He was sentenced to life imprisonment as well. So this can happen to male or females. In this particular instance with Kaylee, Luke Harlow had given her on Facebook his exact details. It was his picture, it was his age, it was everything about him was true. But on many, many, many occasions, the information that's there is false. You know, it could be an elderly man that's presenting himself to be a 15-year-old boy so that he can attract young girls. So, you know, you should never really believe who the person is, or if anybody tries to contact you on PlayStations and they start asking you personal information, don't give them any information. Because if you want to play FIFA, your football game, nobody needs to know who you live with, what school you go to, what music you like. But just bear in mind as well that if you've accepted these people as a friend on your Facebook account, they will have access to all of this information. Exploitation. On these two stories that I've told you about, the end result was sexual favours. There is always an end result for groomers, always. They always want something. But it could be that they want the person to be a drug runner. Or if they're a small young person, they could want them to burgle houses because they'll slot through small windows easily. Or they could want them to steal from stores, shoplifting. It can be anything they want, but there is always an end result. When I was doing this talk to schools, we received over 45 disclosures, which you may think is not many when you're speaking to 60,000 young people, but I would have been happy with just one disclosure, because if one young person, it had given them the confidence to come forward and talk about it, then I would have thought that was good. But we did so well because we received over 45. I'm just going to tell you just a couple of them. We had one young girl that was just about to take her A-levels and wanted to go to university. And she came to me after the talk in floods of tears. And I said, you know, you can talk about it, whatever it is, it's fine. We'll see what we can do. We'll sort it. And she said, well, I accepted somebody as a friend on Facebook and I sent him a naked picture of myself. And as a result of that, he then said that he would make sure everybody on my Facebook account would see this picture unless I sent him more. She was so afraid of her parents finding out that she'd sent this picture because it would have brought disgrace to the family, that she just continued sending the pictures. And in the end, she'd sent over 100 pictures to this man that would then be selling them on the paedophile ring, where they're all there anxious to pay high sums of money for photographs, naked photographs of young girls. And what you have to bear in mind now, with universities, when you're trying to apply for a place, they can search your social media to find out what you've been doing, who you've been talking to, and that could stop you getting into the university of your choice. This young girl was absolutely petrified, but she was interviewed and she was spoken to and it was investigated. But then there was another young man that walked out of the Kaylee talk and he said it was all Kaylee's fault. She brought it on herself. She shouldn't have been so stupid. Well, for me, you know, to say that about a young girl, because in my opinion, anybody that gets groomed are not always aware that they're being groomed. That's the main thing about it, because it's very secretive. But a short while later, this very same young man, he went to a party where all his friends were there and lots of people, and he was approached by a young girl. And he found this young girl really attractive, and they started a friendship, and then they started a relationship. And then all of a sudden, a short while later, she delivered him to the groomer. She had been groomed, and her job, the end result that we spoke about, the end result for her was to party amongst young people, get them to like her, start a friendship, start a relationship, and then she would deliver them to the groomer. He wanted him as a drug runner. And he then came to the police attention and he was arrested for delivering drugs. Now, it's a real difficult one. He thought Kaylee was stupid, and then he fell for this girl who had already been groomed, and then she groomed him. And then he was delivered on a plate to the groomer. you know, it is so difficult. We all have to be aware of who we're talking to and the dangers out there. It's very difficult. You know, I would say to everybody to get rid of everybody on Facebook or social media, that if they knocked on your door, you wouldn't invite him for a cup of tea. If you want to invite them into your house, don't invite them into your social media where they've got access to all of your information. Your friends, your family, where you go to school, the music you like, your hobbies, what you like to eat. They've got all of that information, so it's so easy to start grooming. They've got all the questions and all the answers. So be very careful and just get rid of people you don't know fully. Well, I hope that gave you some information that you didn't already know and it was of interest. And going forward, just be careful and take care. And that's
Thanks, Mother. I think one of the scary things from the Kaylee talk is as well that two of the girls that Stephen was actually talking to, the police told them exactly what had happened. And one of them turned around and said, it is really bad, but I still love him. So you think that is how much of an impact these people have on them. And you think, you've just been told he's killed somebody, but you still love him. And I think that's the scary part of it all, isn't it? I'm just going to check on Facebook to see if anyone's got any questions. If you have got any questions, sorry, Mum, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, in answer to that as well, when I was going around to the schools, particularly the Ibstock Measham schools, Colville, where they all were and lived, quite a few of the young girls said they got Luke Harlow as a friend on Facebook. So, you know, they were part of his 250 that he was lining up ready to groom. So, you know, these people are very clever. His whole life is in that dark, dingy, disgusting flat, just trawling the internet for young girls to find one of them to have sex with him. You know, so it's just so difficult. You have to be so careful.
It is, and you made a good point about the amount of money people pay for child pornography now. I've been into houses and done warrants where in the garage they've had 2 or 3 different hard drives set up where they've been continually downloading child porn for 24 hours a day. So if you think how many images and how many videos that converts into, it's just absolutely horrendous, and that's just in one house. So people are paying money for it. It used to be that drugs used to be the big money, and you know that's where you'd make all the money, but it's definitely that, especially that third world countries, it's definitely changing over towards child photographs and child pornography.
Sexting is a big thing to be careful of, isn't it? That's another, sexting, photographs. Don't send any photographs ever on social media. If you've got somebody that, well, naked pictures, I mean, not if it's a holiday snap, but don't send any pictures of you exposing yourself at all. If you've got in a relationship or a friendship and you like that person and you want to share with him, tell him you're not going to do it by photographs, because once they've got a photograph, they've got you. That's when the blackmailing starts.
Definitely. Don't think that if you have got any questions or you're watching this on replay, just private message me anything. And if you found something particularly difficult about watching it all and hearing it all, just give us a shout and I'm more than happy to go through things with you or talk to you. But I think you've raised some really good points, Mother. Proud of you. You did good. I sat in the kitchen just in case there's any tech issues. I'm like that. And then I had the tech issues, so I apologise for my tech issues. I hope you found this useful, and I will do some things about revenge porn and sexting because that is massively on the increase and that is a massive area now. But I hope you've all enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. Thanks, Mother. Thanks back for watching, and everyone on Facebook. If you've got any questions at any point, just give us a shout. If not, enjoy the rest of this beautiful bank holiday Monday. See you later.
Bye.